What about it, YouTube? Alright, tonight we've got two yt125 exhausts. This one here is off an 85. They're all the same though, at least between 82 and 85, I think it is. They're all the same. I know from 83 to 85 they're the same. And my 125 is an 83. This was the exhaust that came off of mine. I'm trying to get the rust off of it right now so I can paint it. But anyway, I wanted to show you this one I bought because I didn't know if I was going to mess this one up with my experiments. It turned out really good, so I can sell this one. And I was trying to clean it up too. But anyway, so this is the stock configuration. Alright, obviously that connects to the cylinder head. And then you got all this business going on back here, okay? Now it's really wild, you gotta check this out. Okay. So the first question you're probably asking is, what the fuck, right? Because that's wild. And so I'm going to explain what goes on, because I found out by drilling this hole to put this Stinger exhaust in it. So I'm going to explain how this exhaust works stock. And it's still not going to explain why they made it so constrictive, but maybe I can overall explain that with the way they designed the whole thing. Anyway, what goes on is this, okay? When I drilled this hole, I could see what was happening. And down here, so I'll flip this up, in this area, there's a chamber in the back. There's like caverns, little spaces that are partitioned off. And so there's like maybe a 1-inch size hole where the exhaust, after it's trying to get out the expansion chamber, it first goes through this 1-inch hole into this back space here, which is usually capped off like that. Okay, and then it goes 180 degrees the other way through two. Okay, so there's one and another one up top. Two 1-inch holes that go into another little cavern that lead to this 90 degree back to another 90 degree. 90 degree back to another 90 degree. And then back again 180 degrees out the tail. Okay, so I mean, it's obviously very restrictive, right? Very, very restrictive. Lots of back pressure. So this particular trike that they built, they put a very small carb on it. They ran it really rich. They constricted the air box really badly, and then they put this really restrictive pipe on it. So it runs like a little tractor. I mean, it doesn't from the stock settings and stock setup, it has no suspension. It's not something to get wild and crazy on. It was actually advertised as more of just to get around, even like a camping, or not camping, hunting type of a utility tractor. It favored the utility side. So that explains some of it, I guess. Now the 175, they made it a little bit more aggressive, but it's still, well, and it has a different exhaust. So yeah, it doesn't share the same exhaust, and I don't believe that it's as restrictive out of the box. So what I did with this one is first I put the Stinger on, and I plugged this outlet with a piece of styrofoam, and instantly I had tons and tons of low end, just incredible amounts of low end, but hardly any top end, and not much mid-range. And so after riding around for a little bit, it blew out the cork I had installed in here. And when it blew out the cork, now all of a sudden I had no low end and crap tons of top end. So I started thinking about what I could do to manipulate the situation. And it took some time because at first I had this thing JB welded, and that wasn't the solution. I had to get it actually welded, so now it's where I need it and it won't move. So anyway, as I was waiting around to get this welded, I thought this thing up, okay? And it kind of works like a power valve that's usually on the this side of the cylinder head. Little window or little door swings or guillotine raises and closes that restricts the airflow out, and so you get different back pressure. So same concept, just on the exhaust side with these springs here and this washer, okay, clamped on there. So what I've noticed, what happens is I've got great low end and tons of mid-range and good top end. It does sign off though, but it's fine. You know, it has tons of mid-range, just a huge mid-range hit. So what happens though, if you put your hand back here when it's running, idling, you'll feel all kinds of pop, 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 and this washer doesn't move. Okay, there's hardly anything happening right here. Okay, but as soon as you get on the throttle, there's hardly anything coming out this stinger, and the pressures are whooshing around and coming out here, and they're forcing this spring out, and most of your exhaust is coming out this way. So I mean, this whole thing is just thought up from what was stock. Okay, I didn't have any kind of expectations. Like, that's why I bought this. I didn't have any expectations of super success with this thing. I thought I might mess it up, but it turned out really good. And it's interesting. Like I say, it has tons of mid-range. At idle, the pressures are coming right out the stinger, but when you get on it, there's hardly anything coming out the stinger. It's going this ways, and this valve is working quite well. So that's it for the exhaust lesson on a Yamaha yt125. Let's see, come over this way. Been working on the lights, but here's the yt125. I put the rack and the 175 front end on it. It's got a monster front tire on it, woolly boogers in the back, 1 inch wider, 2 millimeters bored out by myself on the carb, automatic oil injection delete, new sprockets, bearings, brake pads, LED lights front and rear. That's what I was just working on. New throttle, new grips, front and rear brakes now that it's got the 175 deal. Beer holder, you gotta have that. Boys and reeds. It's been bored over twice. I found that out when I replaced the head gasket. So it's actually a 127 cc. Drilled out the air box so it can breathe. It's got a new uni filter, new slide and needle in the carburetor. Totally leaned out the needle. The jetting is really good now. Yeah, put the little filter on there. New hoses, new lines, brake lines. Other than this was the original, but it's alright. Oh, I put the skid plate skid plates, aftermarket, pretty cool. It stays, I mean, you can clean it off easier than the stock one. These wide pegs are a must. The stock pegs suck. Tow hitch, I added on to it. And this thing will scoot now, brother. It will move. It'll leave here. And it is fun. I'll do another video when I get it all back together and everything's working and painted up and it slicked out. But thanks for watching.